So just in case you didn't know, Damar Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills in the Monday Night Football game collapsed after taking a hit, and they had to administer CPR and bring the ambulance out to carry him out on the field. But this is what Skip Bayless had to say about it. Not exactly sure what happened to Damar Hamlin. Players on both teams are shaken, ambulance out on the field, CPR administered. Can't remember play being stopped for this length of time. Just said a prayer for him and his family. And then after getting some backlash for those tweets, he said, I've seen so many horrific injuries suffered on the football field, yet never have I seen a reaction like this. In every other situation witnessed or covered, the game always went on fairly quickly. The attitude was, hey, that's football. For these players, this was different. Then he said, no doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems to be irrelevant. Nothing is more important than that man's health. That was the point of my last tweet. I'm sorry if that was misunderstood, but his health is all that matters. Again, everything else is irrelevant. I prayed for him and will continue to. I mean, this is when you got to do that. Like, did you read your tweets back? Because you obviously, like, the game is obviously, coming from your perspective, more important in this man's life. That's what your tweet said. It's like when you put the prayer hands up and you obviously like, well, that means I deeply care about said person because I put the prayer hands on my Twitter. You know, I just don't. I don't get how you didn't see what you did there with that. So Terrell Owens responds to this. This is the most despicable tweet ever. Undisputed, Fox 1, Fox Sports. I would like to say I'm shocked by this tweet, but quite frankly, I'm not because of who I've known you to be. I hope you lose your job. For you at Skip Bayless to think the magnitude of this game trumps the life of a player is inhumane. I hope Shannon Sharp, 84, puts this in a better perspective for you since you continue to say the most unimaginable stuff out of your ridiculous mouth. There has to be some major consequences / implications to this irresponsible tweet. You're a lowlife. Steven Jackson said, I'm going to slap the out of Skip Bayless. Too bold. All respect gone. Dez Bryant was saying, the blank game needs to be canceled. What's the debate? Athletes are human first. If you ever needed a reminder, I'm here to tell you. We need to cancel Skip Bayless ASAP. Let me not get misunderstood. I think Skip was very insensitive in the tweets that he made concerning this situation, but I think it's for a reason. I think it's because we have gotten so used to seeing such violent behavior because football is a violent sport. And most injuries that we see are not of this magnitude. They're not life-threatening. Most injuries we see, somebody breaks something, somebody hurts something, they help them limp off the field, and you get back to play. But this, a man had to be CPR'd and resuscitated on the field because of a blunt force hit that he took. And this is different. This is like I'm sitting with my family and my cousin, I'm like, you think they're going to keep playing? And he like, man, I don't know. He like, honestly, I think it depends on if the guy's okay or not. And that really what this boils down to. If he was okay, if he had been hauled off the field and he threw the thumbs up, everybody would have cheered. It would have been like a heroic moment, and everybody would have went on. We would have went on the game like nothing happened, right? And he would have checked on him later in the week. How you doing? You doing all right? Right? But because we didn't know if he was going to be all right, for so long it was just up in the air. What's happening? Did he pass? Is he hit? Like what's going on with him? And nobody knew. Nobody knew. They was just talking on air, saying how tragic it was. They wasn't replaying it, and which they should not have. But it was a whole thing. Like you didn't know if he was what condition he was in. And then as your teammate, that's crazy because that's your brother. Y'all not brothers, but you develop a brotherhood playing with somebody every day that much. You around them more than you around your family at the crib. So to see him fall out like that's traumatic. Like you come on, you gonna lose it. Like you gonna be like what's going on? Like you crying, players crying and everything. But to know that he would be all right would have kind of helped you be able to get back into game time mode. But for you not to know that, like my cousin said, that's too much up in the air. That's too much up in the air for you to not know if he's okay or not, to then ask players to go back on field and do battle, to then ask the audience that's watching to be insensitive, to not care, and continue to get. But we're gonna be real. Football is a violent sport. It's gladiators doing battle every night, and we know what it is. We've seen Junior Seau, we've seen the players, we've seen the movie Concussion, we've seen what it does to players on the back end of the game, and how the NFL does not want to take care of them or does not want to compensate them for what they've been put through. And some people, hey, they got paid. They got paid. That was their payment. But, it wasn't always disclosed that this type of violent nature would have this type of lasting effect on players and have them committing suicide and have them harming themselves and them and their families over traumatic brain injuries over this long period of time. It's just something we hadn't looked into. And now that we have looked into it, and now that we are looking into it, the NFL is so-called doing what it can do to make the sport better. But we know the sport for what it is. It's no way to soften this up. They keep trying to soften the calls and make it to where you don't even like watching football because you get mad at some of the calls they make, right? And this is the dichotomy of the conversation that we're having, because as we're having this conversation and having compassion for this young man that almost lost his life, in the same breath, me and some of my family are also saying we can't stand football right now because of the softness of the calls that they be making and how they, make the game so much softer than what it used to be. But then in the same breath, it's like those of us that have played the game know how traumatic it can be to bang the helmet on somebody and be seeing stars, or, like lose movement of your limbs, or like, what I'm saying? This sport, this is real. This is real. You can, most kids are traumatically, if they played football while they was young and like pal on up into college or whatever, but you already terribly concussed before you even make it to high school. The concussions are going to have a lasting effect on your life. So we know what this sport is, and we can't play like we don't know. But when we see it, it hits a little different, but in the same breath, we are still wanting more of that. We love to see those hard hits. We love to see things get violent until it goes left. And when it goes left, we take it back like, oh my God, what happened? Is he okay? They're like, no, he's not okay. No, he's not okay. He's hurting. He's close to death because this is a violent sport, and we know that. But the NFL has to try to play up to this type of thing. They have to cancel the game and do all this type of thing that they do because they want to save money. Because the NFL has not played it into caring for players who are used up and abused. They've not done that over the years. And after this concussion film came out and all of this research came out, they didn't want to start paying everyone for not being responsible for what we are partaking in. So they had to make the game softer as much as they could. They had to soften it up and make it seem like they were trying to be as careful as they can be for player safety. But it's not for player safety. It's for them to retain the money that they have, because if they start paying one, they're going to have to start paying all. And they're not going to do that because they need to stay rich. So we understand why the NFL is being touch and go with this type of thing. I understand that. Skip Bayless understands that as well, but he didn't get why it went as far as it went with this game. Listen, I was thinking along the same lines that a lot of football fans was thinking. That was an injury. I was half paying attention to the game. Why aren't we playing football again in 5 minutes? Like, everybody looked up and thought that, like what's going on? Why aren't we playing? But until you put yourself in the place of that family, that's when you truly understand, because you acting like the end all be all is the playoffs and what's going to happen in the postseason, this, that, and other. This man almost died, bro. This man almost died. And you have to put yourself in that family's place. Stop looking at it like it's just a football thing. Like, he almost died, and then his family sitting at the crib watching this on TV. This makes me think of the movie back in the day with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Tom Cruise. You know what I'm saying? When he goes limp on the field, he almost like it's a hard thing to be watching your son, your babies is watching you like go lifeless, and you like get up. You know what I'm saying? It's making me. That's hard. It's hard to watch and hard to go through. And Skip, I know you coming from a place of, and trust me, Skip is disrespectful. He's been disrespectful to Shannon Sharp, and I'm combed his head for it. But I know what he was saying was coming from a place of a sports fan instead of a family member, because the sports fan in me and in a lot of people that I know were watching the game wanted to see a game. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you pay money to show up at a game and go to the game, and you done bought this and bought that and paid for parking. You want to see a game. But that has to take a back seat to what this young man is going through. This young man almost lost his life. So it's not just as simple as breaking a finger or tearing the ACL. All of those things are serious, but it hasn't got that serious. So when it gets that serious, man, you just got to muffle that side of the sports fan in you and shut up for a minute, man, and just let that ride. Because that ain't, you know what I'm saying? Sports don't trump human life. So you just got to let that one go and let it be what it is, man. And the game will be continued next week. They'll resume it, and we'll get back to play, and the whole regular season and playoffs will be figured out still. So that'll all still happen, but you can't guarantee that this man can gather everything back that he has missed, or, you know what I'm saying? So you just got to be more sensitive before you get to tweeting and talking about how, or every other injury has been cool and this, that, and that. It ain't been that bad. Like, yeah, it ain't been that bad. It ain't been this serious neither. So stop disrespecting and just shut your mouth, man, and deal with one night without football. We can get through it. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to see the rest of the game too. But you know what? It wasn't in the cards because he almost lost his life. So we have to, you have to ask, if that was your brother or if that was your son, would you feel the same way? And that's all I'm saying, Skip. It's your boy P. Cap. Let me know what you think.